What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, Pete's Carport, and welcome back to the video that a lot of you guys have been waiting for on this 1996 Lexus sc300 2JZ manual W58 transmission. This is codenamed Frank for Frankenstein because of all the mismatch paneling it had that are now gone, as you guys can see. We're going to basically clip in removing all this because Xavier just showed up. And yesterday I just got in all the Duraflex kit stuff, and I didn't expect this to come in. So we were going to basically do it piece by piece. I only had the front fenders, and they're in this box. I'm gonna pull everything out, show you guys, because I know I talked about getting the polyurethane kit possibly, and the reason why I did not go with that is because I just went online, looked at a lot of videos, and did not like the way that kit was lining up with some of the panels. And this is a lot more flexible when it comes to molding and stuff because it is made of fiberglass. So you can fill it, you can sand it, and all that type of stuff. So I really felt like this was a better kit. Plus, price-wise, this I was able to get the whole kit for the price of basically the rear panels just for the other kit. So what happened was I ordered front and rear fenders and only received the front fenders. Well, it was kind of my mistake. So I ended up ordering the 25mm front fenders, which ironically were way more expensive than the 50mm, but I'm actually happy I ordered them because the style of them is exactly what I wanted, and I think it's going to give a really nice offset look to the car. So let's go ahead. I'm going to basically, Xavier's here, so we're going to go ahead and pull out all of this stuff onto the table. We'll do a quick overview of that, and we're going to put on the front fender, or the front bumper and the front fenders on, and then we'll do a series on this to where we do the rear, because that's going to take a little bit more work cutting the fender well, and we'll put the rear bumper on separate videos. So stay tuned, guys. We're going to get all set up and we're going to go through this. Alright guys, so we've got the front bumper and the front fenders laid out. This is the V-Speed kit. So typically the V-Speed kit has 50mm front fenders. I didn't like the style of the 50mm, and when I was ordering these, I had no clue that these ones were only 25mm, and ironically were much more expensive. Because I had issues and didn't realize on their site you had to select the rear and everything, I had a gentleman call me and they hooked me up with pricing on this, and I got it for a phenomenal deal. So that's why I went with the whole kit instead of just doing the fenders like I originally planned. So if you look here, these have a straight air dam here, whereas these typical V-Speed ones kind of angle. I prefer the straight air dam there because I believe it looks more realistic. It doesn't have a fake body kit style look. No offense to anybody that has that, but I just don't like that style. I really like that smaller air dam there. Now, if any of you guys are looking to get this kit, me and Xavier just unboxed it, and there is a lot of imperfections. There's even damage along here that we're going to have to fix. And the problem is when you try to do a claim, let's say it comes in damaged, it takes forever. You're out without the parts, and then you really don't get anything but another part. So it can have issues again. So I have that there, we have this here, and then if you just look, there's a ton of imperfections. So we're gonna have to do a ton of sanding, a ton of filling, but as opposed to the polyurethane, a little more expensive, a little more durable, but if they're not the right shape, you really can't do much for molding it, whereas these we can body fill, sand, and stuff like that. So with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead. We're going to put these on the car. We're going to get the front bumper put on first, and then we're going to work on drilling out the holes, because you do have to drill these, and putting the front fenders on. So let's get set up, and you guys are going to see that. I'm recording. just to have it as a walk over there real time. So you're gonna have to walk like it's hitting the
Yeah, it might have to be.
it might be that metal piece of grill.
Man, you don't even have to drill on the top part here.
You see how that's weird, that's hitting. It looks really good though, the bottom part. Problem is gonna be getting that to line up with that, and then is that in the right spot? The light? This ain't gonna line up.
Yours isn't lining up?
No, I don't know why either. I mean, the whole thing seems off. Oh, if you look, this bumper guard might need to come off. Because if you look, that's just hitting that fiberglass right there. That intake, induct. Alright guys, so we had a little bit of an issue trying to get it up in there, and we realized you have to kind of lay it down like you see right there and then pull this bumper up. The biggest issue we saw was lining up your high beam, so these lights right here. Now, whoever had this car before went ahead and put plastic ones on, and I found the glass ones in the trunk. So I came up with this idea for breaking apart the lens off the front, which ironically was not hard. I just used a flathead screwdriver. Zay's getting the other one off, and what we're gonna do is either paint these like a black, like a light black, or get some tint, and then we're gonna seal them up in here just to give it the look of a light. I will never use these high beams. This is mostly gonna be a drift car, like I said, and we're gonna eliminate having them be slightly off. I don't want it to look like the front bumper is not aligned properly if it's a hair off. So that's what I'm going to be doing. If you guys want to do that at home, it's probably going to come out really good. You guys will see the end results. There's just a lot of work to get these things lined up. I want you to know before you even go and buy a body kit, if you want it to look good, it's going to take a ton of manipulation, body work, and then you go to paint. So you're going to have all those things in line, and it could cost you a ton of money if you have somebody else do it. But we're going to get this done. We're going to go back to work, and we're going to try to clip in some things that we're doing.
And it's got bolt holes in it somewhere. It's like a Fender thing.
All right, I got the heat gun, so let's. This one's a little different. That one had a. Oh, here we go.
So you got it.
I was gonna say that one had a big old gap in it. This one doesn't. One thing you know, you don't want to. I don't want to slip and slam your finger. There we go. Let's flip it around. There we go.
Got ultra smooth HD going on right now.
Alright, so we're just trying to line up this fender and mark our holes. That way, once we get the fender in, we can line up the bumper. Alright, that should be good. Alright guys, so you guys can see here, what we did is I just marked our holes for along here. There's going to be some that wrap up under here, but what we wanted to do is get this fender lined up with the door with the proper gap. Even if it's slightly closer here, we can shave that. So really that's what you want to do. We already had lined up the bumper to make sure, and then we're going to basically get the fender put on and then start marking our holes for the front bumper. So let's get set up. Alright guys, so it's a new day. It's a little windy out, so I'm going to try to record when the wind is dying down and cut out the parts where it's heavy. But if you have a vehicle like this where you've got front end damage, it can be extremely frustrating. We had this whole fender on and seemed like it was going to go straight, and it was buckled, and it ended up cracking right here when I tightened everything up. So we took everything off and we actually flattened out the frame here using a 2x4 and a hammer. And the only downside is going to be that we had to drill out these holes quite a bit. You can't really see it, but there's basically this hole is completely cut out, so it's barely holding on there. And this one, so I put on some bigger washers to kind of cover that up, and then I bought self-tapping screws that we're going to use with some washers and get up into these areas here and put maybe another one there and maybe 2 more here to really secure this so it doesn't pop this way. The great thing is the door lines up, even though this door was kind of out of whack, and you can see it's a pretty straight line. We spent a lot of time getting this lined up, and now it's about putting the bolts up under here, so we got to jack the car up. And then same thing on the other side. I'm right now working on aligning the headlight. On this side, the only really bad part of alignment is going to be, this is a little higher here. There's not a whole lot we're going to be able to do about that. And then this piece right here is not going to line up perfectly with the hood, but it's very, very close. So I think we spent a lot of time on these front fenders finagling things to get it lined up as well as we could. I think it's going to look phenomenal when we're done. And I just want to let you know, if you're planning on doing one of these, spend your time on aligning specifically these front fenders, and then the back ones shouldn't be as difficult unless you have rear end damage. A lot of times these cars have some sort of front end damage, whether somebody fender bendered, and it throws things at askew. So just wanted to fill you in. I'm going to go ahead and set everything up, start doing the self-tapping screws, getting these headlights lined up, and then we'll be putting the front bumper on. Alright guys, so it's another day, another storm coming through, so it's going to be pretty nasty soon. I wanted to get this filmed. I went ahead, got these fenders really lined up. Doors are opening, even though this door is actually, the bushings in there are shot. So I had to kind of manipulate this, and I'm going to have to probably bend this piece of the door out a little bit. But everything is starting to line up really well. We've got the headlights in there. Now the hood's popped up a little bit so I can play around with getting our front bumper on. You can see headlights there, pretty decent gap here. Everything's lining up nicely right there. So where I'm at right now is this needs to be ground out, and I think once again it's just because of my car being out of whack. Alright, so it's touching in here, so what I'm doing is I'm using a little grinding tool. It's actually a Harbor Freight set, a rotary, and I got it on the drill bit here. And what I'm doing is grinding into here a little bit so that we can then press, sorry about the wind and the noise, press that bumper up in there. So I'm going to go ahead and get all that done. I just like to fill you guys in. Even though this is not a how-to video, I wanted to show you guys all the stuff I had to go through to get this kit on. So if you're looking to get this, you'll be aware that this might take several days to a week just for installation purposes if your car is not perfect. And even if it is, it's still gonna take at least a day or two to get this stuff installed. So I'm gonna go ahead and start doing that and then fill you guys in once everything is on. Alright guys, so it is day 4, beautiful, beautiful day right now. It's in the low 70s. It started today in the 50s, slightly windy, but absolutely gorgeous. And guys, I'm basically out of breath because the battery died on this car last time I was filming, and I had to push it out here because I wanted to get it out in the sun so you guys can see it before we ended the video. I wanted to show you I'm basically there with where I need to be in order to pull this whole thing back off. Sand down any of the areas that need to be sanded, and there's a couple cracks, so I've got to do some fiberglassing on it. Put the fog lights back in, and I showed you guys earlier how we popped off the caps because that's never, these aren't going to line up properly because of all the damage this car had. But I am overly shocked at how well I got this thing to line up. Now our worst part is going to be here, because once we pull this in, there's going to be a slight gap here, and I still got to decide what I'm going to do there. I may do a gasket or something just to fill it, because no matter how I tweak it, that is basically the best going to be, because I had to do a ton of sanding along here just to get this light to fit in. And then you see the hood gap. So the hood gap, from what I've done the research and from what I know based on the stock bumper, is there's a gap there and the gasket goes right in there. I'm going to have to ditch the metal piece because it just doesn't line up properly that the gasket usually pops into. So I'm probably just going to glue a gasket along there. My final step that I'm going to do right now is there's a slight dip, and that is because I've put some shims just to get this thing to come up. This needs to be bent back down right along here because this is up a little bit higher. And so that's my goal right now, is to get this as aligned as I can. And then once I pull the bumper off, get everything, you know, sanded down nicely, get those fog lights put back in, I'm gonna slide it back on, and we're gonna basically bolt up to our fenders. Fenders are done, they're staying on. They just need to be screwed down up underneath here. That's going to require me to jack the car up, so I'll get that done as well. But I wanted to leave you guys with this, kind of looking at where we're at, how the amount of work that was put into just getting this front area done. And we're going to be moving on to the back for episode 2. So this is the part 1 of the body kit where we're just aligning the front, taking off everything, and this is dealing with the car that had front end collision. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this small series on doing the body kit. Hope you guys are enjoying this SC300 drift car that we've basically taken from one of the ugliest SC300s probably out there to now it's starting to look pretty damn cool in my opinion. I can't wait to get that rear done. We get this thing off to a body shop possibly, or do the body work ourselves, and then we got to decide, we're going to wrap it, we're going to paint it, or we're going to leave it just for drifting. So you guys let me know in the comments what you would like to see. Wrap, paint, maybe a plasti dip, I don't know. Or would you guys like us to kind of keep it all different colors for drifting and do some funky stuff with it? Let me know in the comments. My name's Pete, this is Pete's Carport. You guys have an awesome day and a blessed week. Thanks for joining me and thanks for watching.